You were here. I'll play the intro now, though. I'll play the
Yeah, do
Go
it.
ahead, play the intro.
Being able to represent yourself as who you are helps others to speak for themselves.
I'll say, as I know right now, the Star Trek and Marvel universe are connected, but there is the multiverse, so you never know.
Who's her? You know her. Don't pretend you don't.
I know her. I've known her my whole life, literally. So,
Are you going to toss it off to me again?
I mean, no. I'm tossing it to Janora. Janora is going to have to introduce herself.
Ladies' Day.
Yes.
Wait.
I don't think there's a video game that simulates what it's like to have a family.
Definitely simulation game.
Are you kidding? I get left burned on fire. My mom leaves the stove on. That ain't a family. My house burns down half the time.
That's exactly what that's supposed to be.
All right.
Hello.
Hello. Everybody's in the house. That's a great thing. Hey, by the way, Jatovia, I know it's Gamers Den and everything of that nature, but another favorite sport of yours or favorite activity of yours is baseball. I know the Durham Bulls are doing great, get ready to close out the season and then go off into playoffs. But this team that I root for, the Milwaukee Brewers, is trying to give me a slight heart attack because they have been backsliding big time. They've got a big lead, but then they keep losing every day. So they've been stuck on three, or as I like to say, stuck on stupid for a while because they have got 3 games to clinch their division and they keep losing to St. Louis and other teams. And they have imploded like this before. So, I'm sitting here getting worried every day that they lose because I know that they have imploded before where they have had a chance to become a division champion and then either come in as a wild card or lost early in the playoffs. So, as a Brewers fan, I'm already getting a little nervous.
Well, that's the Brew Crew for you. They're cardiac kids.
The Brew Crew.
I think the Reds
It's like
are
a group of
doing
guys
good
going out to
still.
drink.
Hey, but that's what they call. That's what they're called.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
the Brew Crew. Yes, that is their nickname.
That's
I
cool.
think the Reds are still doing well, though. That's my team. I mean, not really, because I don't know much going on with them right now. But I hear fireworks going off by my apartment often, so that's when they win.
Well, yeah.
I love it. So there's this team that's local. Like I know they do stuff, but they're winning, and it's cool. I'm not like I'm just joking. I just think it's funny.
I mean, it sounded kind of bougie. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. You're like,
But John, isn't that the way you feel about your Chiefs? They've been winning lately, apparently.
yes, and I pretty much can say the same thing, but I'm not going to be like, yeah, no. I know they're doing well, but have I watched the game? No,
Oh,
no.
Well,
I haven't watched any football yet.
really? Yeah.
Oh
Well,
man,
I'm in
I've been so busy.
3 fantasy football leagues.
I don't know how you do that.
So,
I'd love to do fantasy football one year. I think that actually would be super cool.
it's fun. I like
I've never
fantasy
actually done it.
football much better than fantasy baseball and fantasy basketball because you just have to worry about one day of the week.
Right.
Yeah, I don't even know how
Football's a little better to watch, in my opinion.
I don't even know how
That's a
people do
word.
fantasy baseball and basketball, and I've actually been invited into leagues for that. Like I've said before, my brother
I can't watch basketball
fantasy football league,
or
but they
baseball.
claim
I
that
can
they've
play
got a fantasy basketball league, and I know I've tried to do it a couple of times, but like you said, Jatovia, you've got to actually be invested in games several times in the week, and it's hard enough being invested in games once a week, because like even my younger brother Malik called me recently and he rescued me, but he didn't totally rescue me because I got up a little bit too late. So he did tell me that I was starting a running back that wasn't playing, and I'm going like, oh, now you tell me. And then I looked at the time and I was like, oh, you did tell me early in the morning. I guess I should have gotten up before the games had started and all of that, so I could have been rescued. But he also called me and said, hey, Mark, you might want to pick your survivor pick, because there's this concept of picking somebody that you think is almost guaranteed not to lose. So I did pick Green Bay, and I survived because Malik reminded me of that as well. So thank you, Malik, for rescuing me at least once out of the 2 times that you sent rescue notes.
Mark, that's adorable and very much you, that you would just like put people in place that aren't even on. You're not playing, and you're like, you go.
It's your turn.
Let's do it.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I've said what I needed.
Yeah, so like I said, well, I am going to bring up some very serious news like I do sometimes on this show, because, you know, the BBC has recently come out with an article that is very serious. And I do know that in the clip that you said we tackle tough issues, and we do tackle tough issues here on this show. And the BBC has come out with an article, I believe it was on yesterday, about extremists are using video game chats to spread hate. So they were saying this whole article about what's going on in that sense. And over, they're saying that they're using different chats. And they said over 3 months, researchers have found anti-Semitism, racism, and homophobia on platforms including DLive and Odyssey, where users stream and chat about games such as Call of Duty and Minecraft. Campaigners say including extremist narratives among everyday conversations can be a pathway to radicalization, and the conversations then move to spaces such as the private Telegram channels. So once you're in that world, then the radicalization starts to happen, according to Joe Mulhall of the anti-fascist organization Hope Not Hate. And that's when you start to go to other meetings, to smaller groups that aren't necessarily playing games, talking about politics more explicitly. And in response, Telegram told the BBC News it used a combination of proactive monitoring of public spaces and user reports to remove content breaching its term of service. And they said DLive and Odyssey had not responded to their requests for comment. So they were saying that. And Call of Duty said the actions we have taken to confront racist behavior includes banning players for racist and hate-oriented names, implementing new technology, and make it easier for players to report offensive in-game behavior. But the researchers also found extremist role-play scenarios within games on various platforms that let players create and share their own custom maps and environments. These included Nazi concentration camps and a Uighur detainment camp in games such as Roblox and Minecraft. And one Roblox drive-in game apparently invited players to become a racist and stimulate the murder of people belonging to ethnic minorities by running them over in a car. And they are small and not played by a huge amount of people, but what they do is allow extremists to create role-playing experiences to live out radicalized fantasies online, according to Jacob Davey from the Institute of Strategic Dialogue. So I'll leave it on that, and there might be some more things that I'll bring up later. But any thoughts about that particular article that was out yesterday?
I mean, it's not surprising that there's an outlet of just expression and hey, it's a video game, I'm not really doing it. And so, I mean, it's not surprising, but it's still disturbing nonetheless. Yeah, that's disturbing.
Yeah, it is very disturbing. Roblox, by the way, said, we work relentlessly to ensure our platforms remain a safe and civil space. And with a combination of machine learning and a team of over 2,000 moderators, we monitor for safety 24/7 to detect and swiftly act on any inappropriate contact or behavior. And Minecraft said, terrorist or violent extremist content is strictly forbidden by our community standards, and we take action to remove such content if it appears on our systems.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, but they can't get it all. I mean, it's just it's like the war on drugs; it'll never stop.
And the tough part is you have, I mean, as Kara pointed out, the fact that you have really it's this anonymity that really breeds it, because you know how we talk about the keyboard warriors and the keyboard tough guys and all this other stuff. I mean, you can say whatever you want to, and people go and play. Like those individuals that have those feelings or just fall into that trap, you say, yeah, it's just a game. We were just joking. And people aren't going to take it serious because, again, it's the stigma behind video games that has a lot of people believing these, just allowing certain things to go on. It's tough. And just as John points out, yeah, it's almost impossible to get it all. I mean, you're not going to
Yeah, there's no way they can put out a million posts about it. You know, we're going to tackle it. We do our policies. We don't tolerate this stuff. But yeah, I mean, 5 years later, I mean, it's not going to stop. I've been playing games Toby's been playing games. I've been playing games since the internet even came out with live. It was then, it's now, it was in between. It's never stopped. You just got to get better at handling it.
And apparently that's what they're trying to do.
So like there's a game like Among Us, for example. Mm-hmm. Among Us used to be one of the worst culprits for that.
They had to get rid of the mics altogether.
They got rid of the chat. They completely got rid of the chat and turned it to a chat wheel. So you have predetermined answers. Okay. So, I mean, companies are doing their best to attack it. The communities themselves, there's toxicity in every single gaming community. We talked about it last week. Every gaming community, there's a toxic thread. But it's just a matter that, companies can only do so much. I mean, this is why, this show is important because we have to talk about the tough issues and we have to be able to figure out and do a model for the world of, hey, we can talk. No matter if we disagree or not, we can talk.
I feel like there's so much emphasis, rightly so, on what we shouldn't do or what shouldn't be happening in the world. And I think especially now more than ever, talking about what should be done, what should be modeled, what is important. I mean, we have so much going on and I would love to, when we're able to talk about the border, that's a huge thing of shoulds and a lot of should nots happening right now. And just modeling representation in terms of modeling the good stuff is so essential in all aspects. I mean, you're still, like John said, you're still going to have the bullshit and the toxicity, but the more people feel empowered to do what they should be happening, that's super important.
I definitely agree with all of y'all and everything. They did say the representative of UKI, the UK's gaming trade body, that they're using sophisticated AI moderation tools and trained community managers to build safe spaces. I guess the question I've got for everybody on the panel is, do you think that those kind of AI tools are going to be effective, and can they actually work when so many people, as y'all have both stated, are being kind of cloaking their identity and they're using the games as a way to maybe highlight some views and some attitudes that they wouldn't necessarily express in the public as much?
Some AI tools do help.
Things work.
I use on my Discord because that's what a lot of communities build, or a Discord server. So on my Discord server, I'm using a bunch of different AI bots to try and moderate different curse words and stuff like that. And that's what a lot of these companies end up doing because you don't have the manpower to monitor thousands upon millions of people.
Emotes, little messages, secret message, a private message, a public message, because they all occupy different spaces. How they catch people is people that frequently do it. But let's say someone has an off day and they're just you know what, bleep, 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 and then they're fucked, because of that one moment, they said a bunch of stuff, but sometimes it doesn't catch them, it's just it only could do so much. I think the technology isn't there quite yet. And if I think it ever does get there, we're talking about an invasion of privacy. I mean, we're talking they are in your network and they're monitoring the simplest of things. Oh, we saw that you looked at socks at 3. They were blue. You should have looked at the red ones. Some creepy shit like that.
I mean, you're looking at Minority Report.
Yeah. If they're able to pinpoint down to that bit, knowing your thoughts, when you're about to, you might perform something bad. It's crazy to think about. But yeah, it's just typical publicity responses to cover people and make adults and parents feel better about their kids playing games.
I'm still caught up on the fact that Jatovi has bots.
Right.
Jatovi has bots.
Hey, I have a bot I have like 2 bots. I have one that plays music, and then I have one that lets people know when I go live on Twitch.
I'm all like, I'm thinking these are actual robots somewhere in a warehouse or something, and they look like Jatovi. They have his little glasses. They have his little chuckle.
I am a big nerd. I have my Transformers stuff. I've got.
This isn't Jatovi. This is a pre-recorded message. He knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
You said the F-bomb, I'm going to throw a toaster at you.
Well,
that is totally what is going on.
Which is really creepy, talking about these bots. So at I think it was CES this year, NVIDIA, which is one of the big video card makers.
Yeah.
Their CEO did an actual presentation. Well, come to find out, that CEO wasn't there. They modeled him.
Exactly.
They actually did a computer-generated model of him in a kitchen while he's doing this whole presentation. So nobody knew that it was actually a computer-generated
Have you seen the show coming out called Alter Ego, or at least the
yes?
That shit looks kind of like we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yep.
That's crazy.
It's so cool.
That is totally crazy. That's just insane and everything. Speaking of insanity, because it's been a minute since Kara has been here and she hasn't heard all of the new news that has come out of the world and everything. But I know that John and Jatovi know that I am actually also a member now of a puppet troupe. So I am part of a puppet troupe and playing the character of Echo. So I am playing Echo. The guy named IPC has recruited me. So I have Tuesday practices and sometimes Thursday, and at least practices on the weekend. So I'm playing several characters where I play the voice of Echo, and eventually we'll go out on the Clubhouse and maybe even go on tour and all of that. So yes, you talk about new news.
That is adorable.
Yes,
that's cool.
Yes.
By the way, Mark looking fresh with a haircut.
Yes, I did get the haircut as well. But I thought that you might like that I am playing the character of Echo. So it is a puppet. I will be playing a puppet, or the voice of a puppet.
You're just too pure for this earth, and so playing a puppet named Echo makes sense. You're just so sweet. Oh my
I can't
gosh.
wait to see it. That's what I'm excited about. I can't wait to see it.
That's kind of cool.
I need videos. I need something.
Yes.
You do a good narrator for a game.
I think there are plans for a cartoon. I think that I've heard plans of a video game, IPC, and he goes by that stage name of I Paint Creatures, and he's a former George Lucas guy. I understand that he's got all kinds of big plans. I've even heard of music, songs, and everything else that are being developed. So yes, it is definitely going to be a major thing coming out in hopefully the end of this year or no later than 2022. So who knows where the heck my voice may wind up at in this project. Hey,
I just want the Mark music video. That's what I want.
You want the Mark video? Hey, I got to bring up another serious topic, and I know it's something very dear and to Kara and everything, which is the whole concept of body sculpting and how some people have actually gone through that kind of imagery kind of things and all of that. But Linda Evangelista, a supermodel who was made famous in the 1990s, came out earlier today because she says that she had been brutally disfigured and unrecognizable after a cosmetic body sculpting procedure that it turned her into a recluse. So today she took a big step toward righting a wrong that I have suffered and have kept to myself for over 5 years. She wrote in an Instagram post actually earlier today. To my followers who have wondered why I have not been working while my peers' careers have been thriving, the reason is that I was brutally disfigured by Zoltic's cool sculpting procedure, which did the opposite of what it promised. So she said that, and she's 56, that after the fat freezing procedure, she developed a paradoxal adipose hyperplasia, a side effect in which patients develop firm tissue masses in the treatment area. And she said that the cosmetic procedure has left her permanently deformed even after undergoing 2 painful, unsuccessful corrective surgeries. She said that she had not been told of the risk. And she did mention that she might be doing a lawsuit as well. But she did come out publicly about this earlier today.
Is that Elvira? Because I think she came out today or something.
No, Linda Evangelista is like one of the original like supermodels, like Naomi Campbell era.
Dang.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because Elvira came out today too.
Well, with
Cassandra
something about her imagery and the way that she was portrayed, or what did Elvira come out with in her statement? And I'll actually look that up while I'm looking up stuff.
Well, since you're in the reading mood, Mark, I'll let you go ahead and look it up.
And I'll look it up while I'm in that reading mood. And y'all continue the conversation. But I will look up, as I oftentimes do, the reading mood, and definitely I will find it out.
So I'm not one of those women who are like, oh, women shouldn't feel that they have to do that to themselves. If it is your body and you get to choose however you feel comfortable, right? So if you feel that, cool sculpting or, Botox or whatever, if that allows you to express yourself, then, make sure that you're safe and you know what you're getting into and go from there. And it's the same like hair dyeing, right? For me, I'm just like, that's too much work.
I hear you.
All of it, too much work. But I'm
And I did
also not a former supermodel, so there's that. And
Karen, you are a supermodel.
Yo, she's totally a supermodel. There's no doubt about that. And I did find the article about Elvira. Apparently, the famed Mistress of the Dark has shared that she identifies as a member of the LGBTQ plus community. And the actress who was born Cassandra Peterson shared her love story in her new autobiography, Yours Cruelly, Elvira. Peterson writes that she was a new mom decades ago trying to get back into pre-baby chat at Gold's Gym in Hollywood when I couldn't help noticing one particular trainer, tan, tattooed, and muscular, stalking across the gym floor, knit cap pulled so low over his long brown hair that it nearly covered his eyes.
I forgot I was there.
You were there. Dark and Brody, he gave off such intense energy that when he crossed the enormous gym floor, the waters parted and people stopped in their tracks to stare, she wrote. A typical sexy bad boy, he was unaware he was so charismatic that he garnered his own unofficial fan club. It turned out that the sexy bad boy was actually Teresa T. Weirson. So Peterson was married at the time to her manager, Mark Pearson, with whom she shared a son, and she and Weirson became friends. So they said that the friendship turned romantic after Peterson and her husband split, and Weirson, fresh out of her own relationship and rehab with no place to go, moved in with Peterson and her son. So after a night out, Peterson wrote she felt compelled to kiss Weirson, much to their surprise. I've never been interested in women as anything other than friends. I felt so confused. Peterson wrote, this just wasn't me. I was stunned that I'd been friends with her for so many years and never noticed our chemistry, because her Elvira brand was so tied to being a sexy temptress for man. Peterson worried that going public with her relationship might damage her brand. Writing, I'm very aware that there will be some who will be disappointed and maybe even angry, but I have to live with myself. And at this point in my life, I've got to be truthful about who I am. For the first time in my life, I'm with someone who makes me feel safe, blessed, and truly loved.
I love that because, that's why so many people don't come out or they don't even explore that. Even just this week alone, and today marks the last day, but this past week has been Bi Visibility Week, and today is Bi Visibility Day, and it's just the sheer notion of I see you, like you're bisexual and I see you as that, not just some connotation of what that means, because people have their own versions of what sexuality means and what that is, and I can't even imagine. She's Elvira. She's like every, man and boy's wet dream at the time, and
hanging above the bed.
Yeah, John.
Leave my door closed.
Like you still have that poster, and who wouldn't? I had a crush on Elvira, but it's like. And I didn't even I even felt like weird about it too. And that's the thing. Like, I think that is crazy and amazing that she was struggling with her stuff and I'm looking at her all confused, like, hey, and that's something identifiable too. It's just so sad that it took her this long, but to be able to come out for other people, that kind of is an important thing because,
Right.
you know, that way you're not having this like double life or whatever. And you know, but it's so good that she's come out at all because some people just don't allow that for themselves. So shout out to Elvira.
Right.
Yeah, big time
Get it,
shout out
girl.
there. I agree.
Can we
Big
talk
time
about
shout-
the border now?
Yes.
Take it away, Kara.
No. Jacoby,
Yes.
you talk. It's your show.
Yeah.
You're the
Again,
leader.
this is everybody's show.
No, you're the
You
leader.
have a topic and that you want to talk about. It is your turn. Ha ha.
Okay, well, you introduce it, Jacoby.
No, you know how this works. We're all equal partners in this. So, what did you want to talk about?
You talk about what Biden's doing on the border, right?
Yeah, okay, so, you know, there's a lot of emotion in general around that. The facts are that you know, we recently have had Iraqi refugees, like, you know, we've been housing them, and that's been great because that's a whole other issue that is like a whole other wormhole to get into. And then on top of that, you have something that's in place called Title 42, and it was put in place by Trump to specifically
Yeah, I'm reading about it right here. I had no clue what you were
deport
talking about.
people who come
New York
in through
Times.
Mexico. And so these people in Haiti have every right to, hey, my president was just assassinated. We had a huge earthquake. Our country's in ruin from the inside out. And, you know, we're trekking to Central America and walking through Central America to get all the way to the Mexican border. And lo and behold, we're not letting them in because Title 42, it specifically states that, you know, we, one, do not take people through the Mexican border. And two, we do not take anyone through the Mexican border who is not under political persecution. I guess you have to specifically be under political persecution. And Trump took it upon himself to say that if you're coming through Mexico, you're not under political persecution. So that's kind of weird wording. And two, it's based off of health as well. So health meaning COVID. My thing is if you're going to hardball and deny Haitians, then you need to hardball and deny Iraqis. And I'm not saying that we do that because I say, like, for me, I would sponsor families in my apartment right now, you know, but I just think it's crazy that, you know, I don't, it's like if there's an administration who's like, you know, we're going to break down the systems that put people in a disadvantage, and you purposely deport people who are Black, and it's under a health code, you're reinforcing this connotation that people from foreign countries who happen to be Black carry diseases. And like, you get people in rural, you know, towns thinking that to begin with. And it's just perpetuating that hate that you see so much of in chat rooms, Common Talk, news, Fox News especially. It's just very frustrating to see that. Like, I get that we still are under a pandemic, but the people of Haiti, you know, they didn't choose this life. So that's kind of like, and I've wanted to talk about it because I wanted to also get, like, I didn't want to just be on my tall soapbox. Like, I also wanted to get other people's input on it too, because it just tugs my heart. It's like, you know, with Jacoby talking about change, like, you know, it's great that all four of us, that we go and we talk about things, talking and being being that representation that's needed. You know, it's like we need so much of that in our laws and in our Congress people and the people we appoint. And it's just devastating. So I'm getting off my box, and 1, 2, 3, go. What do you guys think?
I'll jump in there, and then I'm going to toss it back to Jacoby. But this has been an issue that I have felt very passionate about for a while, because I've actually felt that for the last several decades, under several presidents on both the Democratic and the Republican side, that immigrants coming from places that may be more traditionally have Black roots or African American roots and things along those lines are not treated the same as those that are coming from predominantly European backgrounds, whether that's from Europe itself or whether that's maybe the more light-skinned folks that are coming from Cuba. We saw that way back in like the early 2000s and even in the late 90s as well, because I remember how the both people from Haiti were treated versus those that were coming from Cuba. And some of that is because of the neighborhoods that were already created in South Florida by the Cuban refugees when they first left Cuba after Fidel Castro took over and things along those lines. And they were actually, in many cases, under the leadership or under the auspices of Batista, who was the president before Castro, and it definitely had a very kind of luxurious kind of parts of Cuba that were living very well until Castro came into power. And definitely there would be some people that would argue that Castro might have done some damage and things to Cuba, but I've also heard some things that he might have done on the positive side as well. So that's definitely where we've seen, whether it's immigrants coming from Haiti or whether it's immigrants coming from some of the African nations as well. So I don't feel that the immigrants always get the kind of support. And it's not just an American problem either, because I think we can say the same thing about the African immigrants going to European nations like England and France and other places along the European Union also. So I do think that sometimes those that are coming, particularly from the African nations or from the Caribbean, do not get the same kind of support that others get. And that's where I'm going to get off the soapbox right now as well. But I'd love to hear Jacoby and John's thoughts about that, because I do think that it's been an issue that has been
Share
out
my
there
screen
for
real quick,
decades.
Jacoby. Look at this picture.
Yeah.
That's right there, right now. That's today, 23rd. This post is from the New York Times. It was written today.
Yep.
It is absolutely insane. That.
Yeah, that is absolutely devastating. And there's video of that actual cowboy talking racist, horrible things towards like people. It was horrible.
A big issue, which it's
Crazy.
is throughout all of it's embedded within our nation. The big issue is that seeing people as other makes it easier to degrade and put people down. That's what this is. That's what's going on at the border, and this has been going on for more than the Biden years, the Trump years, the Obama years, the Bush years, and so on and so forth. This has been going on for a while. It really got exacerbated under the Trump years because of the fact that that was a lot of how he wrote in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was easy to say that these people, as some of the people out there say, the brown menace is coming up north, or these individuals are other, they're diseased, this, and that, and the other thing. It's very disturbing, and it causes a lot of emotion. And I think we get tied into the emotion so much that we forget that we need to create a solution, because there is no solution there. Nobody has come up with a solution on immigration for years, for decades. Yeah. And that is where the problem is. We can sit there and, I mean, honestly, those images, that's slave times.
Yeah.
And that's what we see and that's what we feel. And then you have groups of individuals that say, well, they want to take it and go political with it. That's when we get caught in the weeds. Well, it's this.
Yeah.
No, it's been there for decades.
Yeah.
No one political party has ownership over this.
No,
We
but
do
it's
as a people.
so devastating.
And it is.
You know,
And-
it's devastating, and it's like not. It's just looking at all the facts, knowing that
Yes.
you know there's not an actual solution right now, and that's the devastating part. So it's like,
I think it's all just chaos.
what do we got to do? You
Yeah.
know, like I literally have been super close to just being like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
working from the border. Just
And
gonna take my laptop
But that's
and
the
rescue
thing.
some
is-
people.
That's the thing is that once we really focus heavily so much on the emotion, and that's when the chaos within us takes over. And that's that whole idea that, okay, now I've got to make it political because I don't want to blame my group because I like to vote for my group. Or let's forget that racism plays a huge part in this. But I can't say it's racist because then those individuals that are doing the acts make me feel like people are talking about me. So we get caught up in those issues and forget we need a solution. I mean, we have to figure out a way to get those 5,000 plus, almost 6,000 now, under a bridge in Texas, some housing. They're trying to look for help, but yet we're shutting them out and throwing them under a bridge. How do we process them when instead of saying that there's this giant caravan of immigrants coming over? No, they're individuals trying to seek asylum because in Chile, in Guatemala, in Brazil, and all these places, even in Mexico, there's a crime syndicate, you can call it, or drug cartels and everything killing people. They're having their kids run drugs just so the family can stay safe. So instead of hey, they're just a menace. No, let's figure a way to make these individuals help these individuals so they can live a better life. That's what that's the whole marquee that's on. What is it? The give me you're tired, you're sick, and you're hungry. That's what we were supposed to live by as a nation, but we've gone to, hey, I can't stand them because they're brown. I can't stand them because they're from there. We have to get out of that and create solutions to figure ways to help these individuals.
And the people who think that race is not an issue, that whatever, it's just like they should be crossing the border. It's like, okay, what if you lived in a country where you were very poor? Hold on, more noise, I think. Okay, your president was assassinated. You just had an earthquake that devastated the whole country. Probably half your family's gone. What do?
And don't forget about the hurricane that came through as well.
Yeah. And don't even say
it's been a
like,
lot.
oh, well, you wouldn't do what it takes. You don't know that. So just the sheer fact that anyone can say like, oh, well, they shouldn't be, doing that anyways. That's a sheer, like, just you're showing your privilege that not a lot of people, not everyone has, it's stripping that away and realizing that if everything really was put in place, if race wasn't an issue, what's going on now wouldn't be happening, but it is.
And I would even take in, it's not only showing the privilege, but it's also showing the fear, the selfishness, because they fear that, they're going to come and take my job. Dear God.
Are you that bad of a worker? That's my question. Are you that shitty of a worker? Like, what the hell's the problem?
I hate hearing they're stealing our jobs.
It's so dumb.
They're working in the middle of fields and everything else. They're taking any job that they can have. If you are a doctor and figure that a migrant at this moment right now crossing the border is taking your job, you suck as a doctor. Get out of the field.
I'm saying you suck at your job.
So it's just, and it's not to say that migrants can't become nurses, doctors, whatever.
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
They are. I mean, brilliant individuals. But the thing is, we cannot fear that. How can we say we're the home of the brave if you're scared of every freaking thing that walks?
Right, home of the
You know,
brave.
that's
You're
home
a
of the brave.
doctor.
And
Yeah, you're a doctor and you're Haitian. And, and there are people across the border who are also Haitian. Great. Would you like to look at these people? Would you like to, would you like a job? We'll pay you. While you have, while you are safe in the country, you can work for your citizenship and you can have a job created. Nothing's taken away from someone because people are coming in. Like even just small stuff like that. Don't you think like, for me, I'd be like, okay, people are coming in. Great. What can you do? What can you do? What do you do? What do you want to do? Bam. Job.
Just to tie into that. So this is a plug for one of my favorite shows right now. I'm loving it. Ted Lasso, which won a couple of awards, it's a phenomenal show. But it had one point that ties into this perfectly, which captures everything you just said, Kara. Because in one episode, Ted, was being, throughout the whole show, he's always being poo-pooed on. He's never given the respect that he deserves. But at one point, he's standing up against an individual who, has all this money, has all this power and everything. And that person with all this money and power thinks he's the bomb at a game of darts. And kept talking junk to Ted and telling Ted all this. And, they ended up playing darts. The guy didn't realize that Ted really was a ringer.
right.
The thing is, Ted at the end said, hey, people always look down upon me. People have always second-guessed me. People have always looked at me, didn't think I could amount to much. But you know what they never did? Was ask me who I was.
Wow. Good point.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That is it in a nutshell. We all, like those individuals that are poo-pooing on those the immigrants that are struggling to find help and find life and just live. They've never asked, okay, who are you?
It's just blind hate.
They could be the best of friends. They could teach them some new recipes. They could teach them new ways to view life. They could teach them new games to play. They could talk about different structures and different architecture, ways of building. They could have the cure for freaking cancer. But all you care about is that they're brown and they're coming from the southern border.
Right. Yep. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's all. It's all racism and all and other kinds of isms as well. I did want to bring up a couple of other things, and that is the whole concept of, we talk about the Haitians, but there's also a group of folks that are here as well that have recently not gotten the support that they need as well, and that is the Dreamers, because definitely the Dreamers recently had some laws passed that was actually impacting them as well. So that recently came down that they were not getting the support that they needed, and that they're actually having their pathway to citizenship blocked, and that's actually involving millions of young people that are coming from the Latin American countries, and that just recently happened. And even Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, said that he was dismayed by the decision, and that he hopes that the Senate parliamentarian is going to favor some of the Democratic tactics to actually help the Dreamers. But right now, they are being fought against as well. And another thing that I would love to hear all of y'all's thoughts about, one of the things that I've seen happen sometimes, and it happens too often in our society, is that society is very good for doing the division game. And that's the ways that even if you're in the minority community, you are divided and you are then pitted against one another. I can't tell you how many times, and I won't name where I heard it from, but I've heard it from people that are in my circle, where they get upset at, say, the Indian community because they work for Indian bosses, and then they want to complain, even though they are minorities, that they feel that they are being disfavored because their Indian bosses are not supporting them in their jobs if they are another minority. And I've had that conversation with a couple of people in my circle, because I'm going like, hey, are you, like y'all was saying about the jobs, are you doing the job effectively, and are you doing it well? And just because they're speaking in maybe another language or having friendship with people in their own culture doesn't mean that they are necessarily dissing you. But sometimes I do think that even within our own minority communities, we sometimes let people pit us against each other, and we kind of play into that divided and conquer mentality. But I have seen that happen a couple of times, and I'm sure you've even seen it, Jatovia and John and Kara, in the various places that you've been at, where they may pit the Black against the Hispanic, the Black against the Indian, and a number of other things. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
Well, to speak on that real
A lot
quick,
of times,
Mark.
even my friends are going like, I'm upset at the job that I'm at because it's Indian owned, and they're feeling that they're not getting their sense of advancement, whatever that is.
Well, recently I watched, funny that we're talking about dividing the community. I recently watched a documentary on Netflix called Tyrants. And it's all about some of the world's, I know, the greatest tyrants in the history that we have so far. And we're talking Stalin, we're talking Saddam Hussein, we're talking Gaddafi, Hitler. And one of the ways they implemented their rule was to divide the community, actually pit one another against each other. Because if they're focused on another enemy, they're not looking at him. So that's one of the best ways to just take over, is to divide the community, make it so they don't trust one another.
Right.
Because when they don't trust one another, they can't work together.
Right.
And that's like the rule book. It's literally called the rule book of being a tyrant. And like that's one of the main stuff, is divide the community. And so like that's my 2 cents on talking about turning people against each other, because that's like, to me, that's like the first step to doing what you need to do, because no one's looking at you.
And John's spot on that, because divide and conquer. We all have heard that term. I mean, there's the poem, because you were talking about Hitler, and
every tyrant in history has done that.
Yep. And
divided the people.
And there was actually the poem. I quote this poem so many times. It says, "First they come for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. They came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. They came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. They came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. They came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me." That right there is,
good men do nothing, evil prosper.
That talks about how if we are divided, we cannot help one another, and that we use race and culture. We use as a weapon. Which it should never be used as. It should be a thing where,
like Rwanda with the Tahiti's.
Yep. It should be used as something to celebrate.
Tutsis.
Something to learn about. Like, I enjoy Kara so much because not only who she is, but everything that she can teach me. I enjoy John tremendously because, again, not because I need to. No, it's because he can teach me so much about his lifestyle, his culture, where he comes from, who he is. That's the fun part that I enjoy. And that's where my worldview is, that we continually use race, culture, anything we can to divide and attack one another, when we should be using it to, hey, John, down there in Kansas, what y'all got for barbecue sauce down there? What do you put it on?
A lot of it's dry rubs right here.
Cooking. I'm gonna learn new recipes. Hey, Kara, what you got? What do you have in up there in Ohio? I mean, I know my cousins are
oatmeal.
What else?
Oatmeal.
My grandma was from oatmeal. Not oatmeal. My grandma was from Ohio, and she used to put mustard on her oatmeal.
Okay,
so every time I think of Ohio, I think
thing.
of mustard.
Not to sound like divisive, but I feel like that's a grandma thing, your grandma thing. But in Cincinnati, there's Penhead Oats or Penhead Oats with
so it is oats?
Pork. No, but with pork and beef maybe mixture. And you put it all together, and it's like a patty, or you can mold it into like a brick, and you cut it, and it's called geta, and it's delicious, and it's amazing, and I love it. I haven't been able to eat it since my celiac diagnosis, but it does involve some type of oats, but no mustard.
Mustard, right?
Geta.
Geta, dude, that sounds like a rapper, bro. Dude, I'm gonna get up.
No, but it's German roots, right? Goetta. Geta.
Interesting. I'm gonna look up a recipe on that. And like I said, I love me some cooking. I will make something up in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
You're gonna make up a new dish over here and everything.
I'm gonna have Geta with some fish.
Geta with
Geta
fish. That
is.
sounds like that could be
So
very
you don't
good.
eat on meat.
Mm.
So like Geta and like potatoes, cut up potatoes, or Geta and I don't know. It's like instead of a hamburger.
I'm gonna go
patty,
get a.
Go get her together. Go get her together.
But no, I do want to kind of bring in though. So I think it's very interesting how just being aware of language and behavior, how people are like, oh, you're bringing this up, you're being so divisive. And especially in the coaching community.
People just don't like talking about tough subjects.
Yeah, and it's
That's
like, no,
all it
let's
is.
talk about
They're
tough stuff,
wusses.
because the stuff on the outside affects your inside. And a lot of times you're not able to ground yourself because so much on the outside is affecting you. So it very much has to do everything with your voice and your identity and what you stand for and your safety around it. And if your language is built around fear, then you're on unsolid ground, you're on rocky ground. And but if you're able to talk about it, you're not divisive, you're just saying, hey, let's talk about this. And it's just so important. But I just find it fascinating that the very people who are divisive
A lot of these,
gaslight and are like, you are the divisive one.
right? No, you're not. A lot of people need to look in the mirror and be like, you know what? I'm insecure and I hate myself. And that's what a lot of people need to do, because that's just simply what it is. And my mommy didn't love me because it's so stupid.
Mhm.
And I'll say it because I can. Fuck white people. So that's just how I feel about it.
I hear you.
Well,
The irony.
the whiteness around
We are some of the
society,
worst fuckers in human history, man. So
the whiteness around systems
But-
that affect everyone, right?
Yeah.
And so if you strip that away, which is fear-based, right? Gaslighting,
Mhm.
fear, shame's a huge one, right? If you
Right.
strip those elements away, you no longer have those oppressive systems. But just the sheer notion of doing that, scary as fuck. Suddenly that's the enemy, right?
right.
Because it upends everything that you know to be true. But half the time you don't even want that to be true. You want something else to be true, right?
Right.
The true courage is standing up for what you want to be true. And I feel like that's just a mission that
People are always
More
afraid of the
and more,
consequences for speaking up.
am
Oh, yeah.
personally invested in. And it's like,
I like the consequences.
yeah, like everyone else who wants to do that with me, cool. Let's be a little group. And
Oh, you don't
let's
like
just
what I said? Okay,
be
cool. I'm
awesome
going to say
people.
more.
Yeah, let's just
No.
be awesome people together and just root for each other and just
I totally agree.
uplift the fear, the shame, the gaslighting.
No, I definitely agree with both of you. By the way, I want to give a shout out to a book that actually touched on this even before I was born, some 60 years ago, because it's coming up on its 60th anniversary. But I'm actually a fan of Frantz
Okay,
Fanon
Mark,
and his
Mark,
book,
Mark,
The
hold
Wretched
on.
of the Earth,
Mark.
which actually deals, I was actually going to bring it back around, Jacoby.
Oh, I was just going to say there was a book written before you were born.
Yeah, there was a
The
book written
Bible?
before I was born
The Bible.
called The Wretched of the Earth, which is
The land
actually
before
about
time.
colonialization and the impacts of colonialization and racism on our world economy. So that is the book that
What's it
Frantz
called?
Fanon wrote back in 1961 and is actually getting ready to celebrate its 60th anniversary. So the scary thing is that
What's it
the
called
things
again?
that he was talking about in 1961 are still dealing with now. It's Frantz Fanon and it's called Wretched of the Earth. It was a French book
you.
and everything along those lines, but it definitely deals with the power of colonialism even in the early 60s. So it's in there when we're in 2021, and this book was written 60 years ago. And if you look at the book and you hear a lot of what we've been even talking about now is what they were talking about in this particular book at the height of colonialism.
Well, the interesting thing, not only to tie into that book, but the same fights that we're fighting now are the similar and mostly the same fights that we were fighting back then. When Colin Kaepernick took a knee, that battle has already been in the works since Ali did it. When he sat down with Jim Brown and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and all of them. That's the same fight. The same thing when with the Olympics, the guys at the Olympics that held up fist up. All that's that same fight. James Baldwin, phenomenal. If you ever get a chance, go through James Baldwin stuff. Matter of fact, they did a documentary on him. It's on Amazon Prime called "I Am Not Your Negro."
Right.
It is phenomenal if you go back through his writings. I mean, so yeah, there's a lot of the. What's crazy is what Kara was talking about the actually when John chimed in talking about they don't want to talk. They're afraid. That is so true, and that's the reason why we've never dealt with this stuff, is because we don't talk. When we don't want to talk about these tough issues, we're afraid to offend somebody. We're afraid that somebody's going to get mad at us and throw something at us. Right. We have to talk.
It's just pain. Like,
and I'm over here like, hey, please offend me if that's what you really think, because then we're getting somewhere.
Because you have to be open. You have to be honest. You have to be empathetic. You have to understand that racism is a part of the whole culture of the U.S. It's there. We cannot hide from it. We can't sit there and say that, oh, well, those individuals at the border there wasn't racism there. No, there was. There really was. You can't say that, well, black people are just more criminal minded than white people. That's why they get accosted more by police officers. No. There's part in that system. You can't say that stop and frisk, which was pointed out to be disproportionately affecting minorities than it was anybody else. And even when it attacked more minorities in that stop and frisk law, which turned out to be a bigoted racist law, it found more individuals with weapons that were the ones that weren't being stopped and frisked. So it's just...
And then it turned into the propaganda of that whole connotation. Yep. And on that note, I'm so sorry. I love you all three of you.
Oh, see, Kara, I was gonna show you. Oh, before you go, Kara.
No, I had to go back.
I'm showing you this game. This is the most stressful game with John.
Oh my gosh.
I ain't playing it.
This is the most stressful game. It's called Thrasis. And everything is death because you're in space and you have to roll the dice.
You're gonna love this game. Everything is death.
It's so messed up because you have to control a crew, and this is what I need your mental health on, because as you see, there's a part of my spaceship that's blown up. Now I got an alert, and I got to send these 4 people to different places. Now, if they don't roll the dice correctly, for example, I need to get 27 out of the dice here when I roll. And so now I got 2, and so I got to add these into here to take that down. And if it doesn't clear out the 27, then that part may blow up. It is
so
stressful.
Let's just mix in Yahtzee with death, and that
Yahtzee
you want
masses.
my mental health take on this?
Yes. Oh my God.
What kind of twisted individual are you?
Very.
Hey, John, I just got one question because I know that Kara's got to get ready to bounce because it's the end of like her hour and everything in terms of like break and everything. But I just wish that, John, I wish that you could have done a screenshot of Kara's face at the entire time that Jacoby was describing this game, because it was like the most amazing shot that I have ever seen. And I think we got to go back in the replay so that everybody can look at the look that she had on her face as if she was going like, what the heck have I stepped into? So it was the most amazing look that I have ever seen. I am a big fan of you and everything, but I wish that we had screenshot that face, because I was looking at your face the entire time that Jacoby was giving the description, and it was priceless. That's all I've got to say. Is you think I'm priceless as Echo, your face was priceless at that particular moment. So I just have to say that right now, because I just wish that John or myself had captured that screenshot, because it was so priceless.
I was looking at the game, unfortunately. It was like,
And
oh
now,
God.
All
Yeah,
this stuff is
me too.
clean. now I got to choose: is my stress level going to jump, or my hull going to go bad? I got to do the stress level. This game is so stressful.
You pitted. I don't know. Anyways,
It looks like
I gotta
nuns.
go.
Take it easy,
go.
Kara. Have a
And I
good
love
one.
you all.
See you, Kara.
Bye.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Peace. It's great to have her back. Jacoby, I was getting
I
ready
know
to teach
you
you
got
about something and everything. Which,
Toby.
yeah, no, y'all gonna probably play a game, but I was just gonna read what
But
they
he's
said
gotta go.
about.
Yeah, I gotta head out
Fanon.
too a little bit,
My
Mark.
boy's about to wake
No, I
up.
know.
can hear
I
him
got we get to the end and everything, but I just going to make 2 quick points. But
Yeah,
he
go ahead.
presents a discussion of personal and societal mental health, a discussion of how the use of language is applied to the establishment of imperialist identities such as colonizer and colonized, to teach and psychologically mold the native and the colonist into their respective roles as slave as master, and a discussion of the role of the intellectual in a revolution. Minus all of that hyperbole in terms of imperialism and everything else, I think that could almost be a description of our show, but it was actually a description on Wikipedia of that book that I was mentioning earlier. But the rest of that stuff, minus all that hyperbole, I think could be actually a description of the show. And the other thing that I was going to bring up really quickly is that apparently in our culture, there has been a major thing in the African-American culture where everybody is fixated on the R. Kelly trial. So that's the other thing I was going to bring up, why this is such a big story and why YouTube and everybody else is exploding, because that was something else that has been all over YouTube and apparently is on both sides of the R. Kelly debate. But they are saying that a lot of media coverage, and particularly in our community, in the African-American community, has been going over this trial of R. Kelly. And I'm going like, I thought we were done with R. Kelly, but apparently we're not, because he has become another media star because of his trial, and apparently is like the talk of the internet.
That's R. Kelly.
That's right.
I mean, he's big.
He got
Big-
that hit. I want to pee on you.
Yep, that should have told everybody.
Oh, R. Kelly. I can't believe he's still in the news.
He is in the news.
Last time I saw him, he was crying. It wasn't me. Y'all got to stop playing.
Yeah, that dude peed on people.
That's all he wanted to do was just pee on some people and be left alone about it. But they didn't want to be peed on. I mean, there's people out there that like to be peed on. Why don't you just find those?
Because he got money.
He got money. Is that what it is?
Just want to pee on whoever he wants, like a dog. My territory.
Well, I mean, you mentioned the New York Times, and apparently there's a big article in the New York Times today as to why the R. Kelly trial is a big deal in our African-American community. So they're saying it's a big deal. And on the internet, both supporters and detractors of the singer have shown intense interest in this criminal trial. So they say the trial of the R&B superstar R. Kelly has featured some 50 witnesses across more than a month of testimony. For help making sense of it all, hundreds of thousands of viewers have turned to YouTube, where a host who posts videos as the Plainestein Jane offers nearly daily recaps that sometimes stretches 90 minutes long and includes the same images and documents seen in the courtroom. Come on in, have a seat on my bus, the presenter said at the outset of one recent video, sitting next to a houseplant, a collage featuring a courtroom sketch of Mr. Kelly superimposed over her shoulder. I'm going to pick you up and give you the rundown. So that channel is just one cog in an expansive online ecosystem that has grown around Mr. Kelly as the accusations against him gained intense public attention in recent years. Now, his criminal trial in Brooklyn is at the center of a swirling social media world centered in African-American communities, where fierce critics of Mr. Kelly squabble with steadfast supporters digging into details from the courtroom. And there's 1,000-member Facebook groups that are they're saying in plural, that literally dissect the transcription of each individual witness's testimony, and accounts on Instagram posts, updates on the court day against colorful backgrounds, TikTok users breaking down illegal pandering underpinnings, and a bunch of other things. So apparently there's all kinds of folks that are on the internet having way too much fun with the R. Kelly trial. And just really quickly, Mark Anthony Neal, a professor of Black popular culture at Duke University, said R. Kelly had a particular talent to make songs that resonated with Black audiences. When you think about a song like Step in the Name of Love, that's something you were apt to hear at a 5-year-old's birthday party and also a 50th wedding anniversary. He added, many Black folks grew up in a context where R. Kelly was literally the soundtrack of their lives. So apparently that's part of the reason is that he is the soundtrack of their lives. And a lot of folks are making YouTube videos, TikToks, whatever else they might be doing about R. Kelly.
Yeah, R. Kelly crazy. R. Kelly, like I said, he's a pedophile and a rapist and a kidnapper. I can't mess with R. Kelly. I can't deal with that.
That's all he is.
Yeah. I mean, on a happier note, as you see, John, I'm done.
You're done.
Right?
You failed.
You failed this dumb game that you should delete immediately so you can free up space on your hard drive.
He failed.
No, but it's so addictive. I gotta friggin' win. I gotta make it further.
Oh
But
my God.
what is your record now? You like ON something, or you like actually got a good record? Because I know, like in the basketball game and in a lot of the other games, you're either like close to undefeated or you got like crazy winning records. But
no, this game I just started, and here are my stats on it. Yeah, I played it 4 times. I have no winning percentage. I have
so
one.
you've
no
lost
game.
4 times. I'm agreeing with John. I think that the game and the gaming world is telling you to give up on this game, delete it because it's crazy, and get rid of it. So the votes are 2-1 against you. So I think that you need to go ahead and follow me and John's advice. Right, John?
No,
Yep, I agree.
The computer cannot win.
Delete it post haste.
All
All
right,
right, you guys. You guys have a good rest of your day.
You do the same. I've actually
because we're about to close the show anyway.
no,
good
I know
one.
we're getting to close. I've actually got to go to a meeting because we're going to possibly learn about an OTT platform that is African owned that I'm supposed to meet the owners of it. But it's a guy out of Los Angeles that has created an OTT format called On Television. So I'm supposed to meet with him and see if he can help get on like the Gamers Den and some of our other shows on his platform. So I'm supposed to have a telephone meeting with him. So who knows? Maybe I'll have some good news for us next week.
Oh, cool. Okay. Keep us posted.
No,
But everybody else, we'll see y'all next week if I can push the button.
Push the right button.
Being able to represent yourself as who you are helps others to speak for themselves.
I'll say, as I know right now, the Star Trek and Marvel universe are connected, but there is the multiverse, so you never know.
Who's her? You know her. Don't pretend you don't.
I know her. I've known her my whole life, literally. So,
Are you going to toss it off to me again?
I mean, no. I'm tossing it to Janora. Janora is going to have to introduce herself.
Ladies' Day.
Yes.
Wait.
I don't think there's a video game that simulates what it's like to have a family.
Definitely simulation game.
Are you kidding? I get left burned on fire. My mom leaves the stove on. That ain't a family. My house burns down half the time.